Tyler Anderson stood in the gleaming lobby of Whitmore Industries, his worn Red Sox cap twisted nervously in his hands. The 4-year-old boy beside him, Mason, clutched a stuffed dinosaur against his chest, wide eyes taking in the towering glass walls of Boston's Seaport District. Tyler had pressed his best button-down shirt that morning, the one without stains, and polished his single pair of dress shoes until they almost looked new. Patricia Brooks emerged from the elevator, her heels clicking against marble like a countdown timer. Her eyes swept over Tyler's outfit, paused on Mason, then narrowed into something between confusion and disgust. She folded her arms across her expensive blazer, the kind Tyler couldn't afford even if he saved for months. "You brought a child to a corporate interview." Her voice cut through the polished silence like glass breaking. Tyler's hand instinctively moved to Mason's shoulder, a protective gesture born from months of being the only barrier between his nephew and a world that often felt hostile. "I had no choice," Tyler said quietly, trying to keep his voice steady. "Our daycare provider got sick this morning, and I couldn't find backup childcare. I know it's not ideal, but I really need this opportunity." Patricia scoffed, turning to the receptionist behind the marble desk. "We screen for professionalism here, not family problems. This is Whitmore Industries, not a playground." Mason pressed closer to Tyler's leg, sensing the tension in the air. The little boy hadn't spoken since his father Derek's funeral 6 months ago, the trauma stealing his voice along with his sense of security. Tyler knelt down, whispering reassurance while his cheeks burned with shame. "I understand your concerns," Tyler said, standing back up with Mason's hand in his, "but I came prepared. I have all the documentation you requested, my portfolio, references. I'm qualified for this position. Qualifications don't include bringing personal complications to work." Patricia snapped. "Security can escort you both out." Before Tyler could respond, Mason accidentally bumped into a side table, sending a glass of water crashing to the floor. The sound echoed through the lobby like a gunshot. Tyler dropped immediately to his knees, pulling tissues from his backpack, desperately trying to clean up the mess, while Mason watched with horrified silence. "I'm so sorry," Tyler whispered, his hands shaking as he mopped up water. "He didn't mean to. Please, just give me a chance." The elevator chimed softly, and out stepped a man in a charcoal gray suit. Alexander Whitmore moved with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to command, but his eyes held something unexpected, curiosity rather than judgment. At 36, he'd built Whitmore Industries from a small renewable energy startup into Boston's fastest-growing clean tech company. Alex paused, taking in the scene, a man on his knees cleaning up water, while a small boy stood frozen beside him, a manager glaring down at them both, a lobby full of people pretending not to notice the human drama unfolding on their pristine marble floor. "Why don't you tell me why you're here?" Alex said, his voice calm and unhurried. Tyler looked up, startled. "Tyler Anderson. I'm here for the operations coordinator position." Alex nodded toward the nearby seating area. "Let's sit down and talk properly." "Sir," Patricia interjected, "this candidate brought a child to the interview. It's completely inappropriate." "I can see that, Alex replied smoothly, his eyes never leaving Tyler's face. "I can also see that he's here on time with his materials prepared, so let's hear what he has to say." Tyler felt something shift in his chest, a flutter of hope he'd almost forgotten how to recognize. Mason climbed quietly into his lap as they sat down, the little boy's instincts telling him this stranger felt different, safer somehow. Alex leaned forward, elbows on his knees, meeting Tyler at eye level. "Take your time. Start wherever makes sense. And if you've ever felt invisible in a room where you needed to be seen, if you've ever needed someone to look past the surface and recognize your worth, then stay with this story, because what Alex Whitmore does next might restore your faith in second chances." Follow Heart Stories for more tales about resilience, dignity, and the power of being truly seen. Tyler took a slow breath, feeling Mason's small body relax against him. The lobby around them seemed to fade as Alex waited patiently, his attention focused entirely on their conversation. Tyler had practiced this moment countless times, But sitting here now, nothing felt rehearsed. I lost my brother Derek 18 months ago. Tyler began softly. Drunk driver ran a red light on Storrow Drive. Derek was coming to help me fix my car. And if I hadn't called him that night, he'd still be alive. Alex's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. I'm sorry for your loss. Derek named me as Mason's guardian in his will. Tyler continued, his voice steadying as he found his rhythm. Mason's biological mother died in childbirth, and Derek's parents live in Florida. They never approved of Derek being a single father, and they definitely don't approve of me raising Mason. The little boy shifted in Tyler's lap, his fingers tracing patterns on his stuffed dinosaur. Tyler smoothed Mason's hair absently, a gesture so natural it spoke of countless nights reading bedtime stories and soothing away nightmares. I was a software engineer at a Cambridge startup until last year, Tyler said. The company folded when our funding fell through. I've been doing freelance coding work and DoorDash deliveries to keep us afloat, but it's not sustainable. Mason needs stability, healthcare, a real home. Alex glanced at the tablet in his hand, scanning Tyler's resume with genuine interest rather than polite obligation. You're still finishing your degree online MIT extension program. Tyler nodded. I dropped out during my junior year when my parents cut me off. They found out I was gay and decided college funding wasn't worth supporting what they called my lifestyle choice. The words hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Tyler had learned long ago that hiding his identity created more problems than it solved, but each revelation still felt like stepping onto thin ice. And today, Alex asked quietly, why bring Mason with you? Our daycare provider in Roslindale had a family emergency. I lost my apartment in Jamaica Plain 3 weeks ago when my landlord raised the rent from $1,800 to $3,200. We're staying in a weekly motel on Route 1 while I search for something affordable, which barely exists in Boston anymore. Tyler straightened his shoulders, a gesture of quiet defiance against the circumstances trying to break him down. I know bringing Mason wasn't professional, but this position represents everything we need. Steady income, health insurance, a chance to build something stable. So we got dressed in our best clothes. We practiced interview questions while eating cereal for dinner. And we came here ready to prove that I'm worth the risk. Patricia, who had been hovering nearby with barely concealed impatience, finally stepped forward. We can always reschedule when you have proper childcare arrangements. Alex raised a hand, cutting her off. He came prepared. We finished this conversation now. Turning back to Tyler, Alex leaned forward slightly. Would you be willing to start in a 2-week trial position, full benefits from day one, and we have an excellent on-site childcare facility? You'd report directly to me during the probationary period. Tyler's breath caught in his throat. He blinked once, certain he'd misheard. Yes, he said quickly, his voice thick with emotion. Absolutely yes. I'll have HR draw up the paperwork by end of business today. You can start Monday morning. Mason suddenly looked up at Alex, his solemn expression brightening for the first time. The little boy reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled sticker, a rainbow heart he'd been saving. Without a word, he held it out to Alex, offering the small gift with the gravity only a 4-year-old could muster. Alex accepted the sticker without hesitation, tucking it carefully into his jacket pocket. Thank you, Mason. I'll treasure this. And in that moment, something shifted between them all. This wasn't just about a job anymore. It was about recognition, respect, and the radical act of seeing someone's full humanity rather than their circumstances. Sometimes hope arrives wearing a business suit and speaks in the quiet language of opportunity extended without conditions attached. 3 weeks into Tyler's trial period, the morning routine at Whitmore Industries had found its rhythm. Tyler arrived each day at 7:30 sharp, walking Mason to the bright, cheerful childcare center on the building's 2nd floor before heading to his desk overlooking Boston Harbor. The work energized him in ways he'd forgotten were possible, analyzing energy efficiency data and developing software solutions that could genuinely impact climate change. Alex found himself taking the routes past Tyler's workstation that weren't entirely necessary, drawn by the quiet competence with which Tyler approached every task. There was something magnetic about watching someone work with genuine passion. The way Tyler's fingers moved across the keyboard like he was composing music rather than writing code. One afternoon, Alex stepped out of a board meeting and paused near the break room. Through the glass wall, he saw Tyler sitting at a corner table with Eduardo, the evening custodian who most employees barely acknowledged. Tyler had cut his sandwich precisely in half, sliding one portion toward the older man with an easy smile. "I packed extra," Tyler was saying, though Alex could see Tyler's lunch consisted only of that sandwich and a bruised apple. Eduardo's face lit up with gratitude, and the two men fell into comfortable conversation about Eduardo's grandson's soccer team. Alex said nothing, but something tightened in his chest as he watched. In a building full of people who ordered expensive salads and complained about the catering quality, Tyler shared his meager lunch without hesitation. It wasn't charity or performance. It was simply how Tyler moved through the world, leading with generosity even when he had little to give. The first sign of trouble came the following week. Alex was leaving his office late when he heard raised voices from the operations department. He turned the corner to find Tyler standing by his desk, shoulders rigid with controlled tension, while Jennifer Walsh from accounting gestured angrily. "You cannot keep leaving early." "Tyler," Jennifer was saying, her voice sharp with frustration, "the rest of us are covering your workload while you run off to daycare duty. This is a professional workplace, not a family-friendly commune. I stayed 2 hours late yesterday to finish the Morrison report." Tyler replied quietly but firmly, "I was 5 minutes late picking up Mason because I wanted to complete the efficiency analysis." The childcare center charges $15 for every minute past 6 o'clock, which might not sound like much to you, but it matters to me. "That's not the point," Jennifer snapped. "We all have responsibilities outside work, but we don't bring our personal problems to the office." Alex stepped into view, his presence immediately changing the energy of the conversation. His voice carried the quiet authority that had built a company from nothing. "Jennifer, you can go home for the evening." "But sir, I was just explaining to understand, you can go, don't." When they were alone, Alex moved closer to Tyler's desk. His nephew was nowhere to be seen, safely occupied in after-school care downstairs. But his presence lingered in the small touches around Tyler's workspace. A finger-painted drawing of dinosaurs taped to the monitor. A photo of Tyler and Mason building a snowman during last month's nor'easter. "You okay?" Alex asked. Tyler hesitated, clearly weighing his words. "Yes, sir. I'm managing the workload just fine." Alex studied Tyler's face, recognizing the careful neutrality of someone who'd learned to expect disappointment disguised as concern. "Take tomorrow afternoon off. The Morrison project was excellent work, and you've earned some breathing room." Tyler's lips parted in surprise. "I didn't mean to cause problems. I can adjust my schedule, find backup childcare." "You didn't cause anything," Alex interrupted gently. "You've exceeded expectations since day one, so take the time." He didn't wait for thanks, just nodded and walked toward the elevator. But as the doors closed, Alex found his thoughts louder than usual. He remembered the careful way Tyler had cleaned up Mason's spilled water that first day, the dignity with which he'd handled humiliation. He remembered the sticker, still tucked inside his day planner, a small rainbow heart that had somehow become his most treasured possession. For the first time in years, Alex felt something move inside his chest, something warm and unfamiliar, like the first hint of spring pressing against windows still frosted from winter. He pulled out his phone and scrolled to Tyler's contact information, his thumb hovering over the call button. Then he put the phone away, telling himself there would be time for whatever this was becoming. But deep down, Alex knew some conversations couldn't wait forever, and some connections demanded courage rather than caution. The question was whether either of them was brave enough to step beyond the safety of professional boundaries into something far more complicated and infinitely more meaningful. The March nor'easter hit Boston with the fury of a season refusing to surrender to spring. By evening, The wind howled through the streets of Roslindale, rattling the windows of the weekly motel where Tyler and Mason had been living for 2 months. The power had gone out around 6, leaving them in darkness with only the emergency lighting from the hallway casting shadows through the gaps around their door. Mason sat on the narrow bed, wrapped in both their winter coats, his breath visible in the rapidly cooling room. The heating unit had died with the electricity, and Tyler's attempts to contact the motel management had gone unanswered. He stared at his phone, watching the battery percentage drop while calculating how long they could safely stay in a room that was becoming colder by the hour. Finally, Tyler's pride lost the battle with his protective instincts. He scrolled to Alex's contact and typed carefully, "Power out at motel. Heat's gone. Mason's getting cold. I'm sorry to bother you, but I didn't know who else to call." The response came within minutes. "On my way. 20 minutes." Alex's Range Rover appeared through the snow like salvation wrapped in German engineering. Tyler gathered their few belongings while Mason pressed his face to the window, watching their unexpected rescue navigate the empty parking lot. By the time they made it to the vehicle, both were shivering despite their layers. "You're both soaked," Alex said as he helped Mason into the back seat, adjusting the heated seats to their highest setting. The boy immediately relaxed into the warmth, his first genuine smile in weeks spreading across his small face. Alex's Back Bay penthouse felt like entering another world entirely. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the harbor through sheets of driving snow, while the interior radiated warmth from both the heating system and the carefully chosen furnishings that spoke of comfort rather than showiness. Tyler stood awkwardly near the entrance, acutely aware of their dripping clothes and the gulf between his reality and this sanctuary. "I'll get towels," Alex said, already moving toward what Tyler assumed was a bedroom. Mason giggled when Alex returned with a fluffy bathrobe that engulfed the 4-year-old completely, the sleeves hanging past his hands like fabric wings. 10 minutes later, Tyler found himself in Alex's kitchen, wearing borrowed clothes that fit surprisingly well while stirring pasta sauce on a professional-grade stovetop. Alex moved around the space with easy familiarity, setting the table and opening a bottle of wine that probably cost more than Tyler's weekly motel bill. "You didn't have to cook," Alex said, leaning against the granite countertop. "You drove through a blizzard to help us. Dinner is the least I can do." Alex watched Tyler work, noting the automatic way he checked on Mason while managing multiple tasks. The practiced efficiency of someone accustomed to handling everything alone. "Smells better than anything my private chef ever made." Tyler laughed softly, the first truly relaxed sound Alex had heard from him. "That's because it's real food, made by someone who actually eats it." After dinner, they settled on the oversized sectional to watch an animated movie Mason had chosen. The little boy curled against Alex's side with the natural trust of a child who'd learned to recognize genuine kindness. Halfway through the film, Mason's breathing evened out into the deep rhythm of sleep. "He's out," Alex whispered, looking down at the small form pressed against him. Tyler smiled from his position on the other end of the couch, his legs tucked beneath him in a way that made him look younger than his 28 years. He always picks the movie, then never finishes it. A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the storm outside gradually diminishing into ordinary rain. Tyler's expression grew thoughtful, vulnerable in a way that work conversations never allowed. "I'm scared," he said quietly, the words barely audible above the soft soundtrack, "of hoping too much." Alex didn't respond immediately, recognizing the weight of such an admission from someone who'd learned to guard his expectations carefully. "I've taught myself to live without a lot of things," Tyler continued, his voice growing steadier as he found his courage. "But the hardest part is letting myself imagine more. A real home where Mason can have his own room and toys that don't fit in a backpack. A future where he doesn't grow up watching me struggle just to survive." Tyler's eyes glistened in the soft lamplight as he looked at Alex, really looked at him for the first time outside the carefully maintained boundaries of their professional relationship. And maybe, he whispered, "someone who stays." Alex felt something crack open in his chest, all the careful walls he'd built around his heart shifting like tectonic plates. "Let me carry that hope for both of you," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "until you're ready to hold it on your own." The words hung between them, a bridge neither had expected to build, but both desperately needed. Mason shifted in his sleep, his small hand finding Alex's arm and holding on, as if even unconsciously he understood that some connections transcend the boundaries of blood or obligation. Sometimes family forms in the quiet spaces between longing and acceptance, built one moment of trust at a time. 15 months later, Tyler Anderson stood at the podium of the Boston Convention Center, wearing a navy blazer that actually fit and a confidence that had been hard-earned through months of growth, challenge, and the steady support of a love he'd finally learned to accept. The banner behind him read Second Chances Initiative Empowering Boston's Working Families, in letters large enough to be seen from the back of the packed auditorium. In the front row, Mason sat between Alex and Dr. Sarah Chen, the child psychologist who'd helped him find his voice again through patient months of play therapy and family counseling. The 6-year-old wore a button-down shirt and tie that matched Alex's, his small hands folded carefully in his lap as he watched his dad with the serious attention of someone who understood the importance of the moment. The journey to this stage hadn't been straightforward. The custody battle with Derek's parents had stretched through the summer, requiring lawyers Tyler couldn't afford and emotional reserves he'd thought were already depleted. The board of directors at Whitmore Industries had questioned Alex's judgment publicly, forcing him to choose between the company's traditional image and the values he claimed to represent. But they'd weathered each storm together, building something stronger than either had imagined possible. Tyler's promotion to Director of Social Innovation hadn't been handed to him as charity. It had been earned through the development of programs that genuinely changed lives. The Second Chances Initiative had already helped 43 single parents find stable employment, connected 15 LGBTQ youth with affirming families, and created partnerships with local organizations that understood the complex realities of economic survival in an expensive city. Today, we're not just announcing a policy expansion, Tyler said, his voice carrying easily through the sound system to reach every corner of the auditorium. We're acknowledging a simple truth that shouldn't be revolutionary. Every parent who loves their child deserves the chance to provide for them. Every person willing to work hard deserves dignity in that effort. And every family, regardless of how it's formed, has value that extends far beyond what any balance sheet can measure. Alex watched from his seat, remembering the nervous man who'd cleaned up, spilled water in their lobby, while protecting his silent nephew from a world that seemed determined to judge them both. The transformation wasn't just in Tyler's professional success, but in the way he moved through space now, claiming his right to be heard rather than asking permission to exist. The program we're launching today provides not just job training and placement services, but wraparound support that recognizes the reality of people's lives. Tyler continued. Childcare assistance, mental health resources, legal advocacy, and mentorship from people who understand that success isn't always linear and second chances sometimes lead to first opportunities. Mason stood up suddenly, his small voice carrying across the quiet auditorium with the clear pronunciation that months of speech therapy had restored. That's my dad. Gentle laughter rippled through the crowd, warm and appreciative rather than mocking. Alex lifted Mason onto his lap so the boy could see better, whispering something that made Mason giggle and settle contentedly against his shoulder. After the formal presentation ended, the three of them walked hand in hand through the South End, past the Victorian brownstones where they'd bought their first home together 6 months earlier. The narrow streets were lined with trees just beginning to show their autumn colors, and the sidewalks bustled with the easy energy of a neighborhood that had learned to embrace change while honoring its history. Tyler stopped in front of their favorite cafe, the one where Mason had first spoken Alex's name over hot chocolate and cinnamon rolls. Through the window, they could see families like theirs, couples pushing strollers and children drawing with crayons, while their parents discussed everything from school fundraisers to weekend plans. "Thank you," Tyler said quietly, squeezing Alex's hand as Mason ran ahead to press his nose against the bakery display case. "For what? For seeing us," Tyler replied. "For staying when it got complicated. For believing we were worth the risk." Alex pulled Tyler closer, kissing his temple in the unconscious gesture of long-term love. "You both saved me," he murmured. "I just didn't know I needed saving until you walked into my life." Mason returned with chocolate on his chin and a question about whether they could adopt the cafe's resident cat, launching into a detailed explanation of why Mittens would prefer their house to living above a noisy coffee shop. Alex listened with the patient attention of someone who'd learned that love is found in the small moments of ordinary days. In the willingness to hear about cats and homework and playground politics with the same seriousness given to board meetings and quarterly reports. As evening settled over Boston, they walked toward home together. Three people who'd found their way to each other across the complex geography of loss and hope, proving that families are built not through biology or chance, but through the daily choice to show up for each other when the world feels uncertain. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about dramatic gestures or perfect timing, but about ordinary people who refuse to let circumstances define their capacity for connection and growth. Have you ever felt like giving up on your dreams felt easier than risking another disappointment? Tyler and Alex's journey reminds us that authentic love often begins with the courage to be seen exactly as we are, flaws and fears included. Follow Heart Stories for more real tales about resilience, family, and the transformative power of choosing each other every single day.